Alright, kids, let's talk about a movie that is very near and dear to my heart. Cannibal Holocaust from 1980. It's a film that I saw for the very first time when I believe I was in the 8th grade, and I was very impressionable, and it is a movie that royally messed me up for the rest of my life. It was probably about as close as I got to being traumatized by a motion picture as a preteen. It messed me up more than The Exorcist. It messed me up more than Last House on the Left and I Spit on Your Grave and all those other exploitation movies. It really did a number on me. It was a film that truly and utterly disturbed me in a way that I don't think any film I saw in my youth truly did. The thing is, I haven't actually seen the movie since, when I was like 13, 14, something like that. And I recently rewatched it over Thanksgiving break, and I have to say, this movie holds up incredibly well. A lot of movies, that have that reputation of being considered disturbing or unnerving, generally over time that kind of fades away. I mean, there's a point in time people thought The Exorcist was just the most extreme of the extreme, but today it's kind of, well, actually, it's really tame for the most part. But Cannibal Holocaust is a film I don't think has lost any of its impact over the last 30 years. In fact, it's probably just as troubling now as it was way back when. I don't know. So we've all seen the classic scenes. A lot of people consider it to be one of the most disturbing films of all time because of the depictions of animal abuse. And I admit that's some pretty ghoulish stuff going on. That scene with the giant sea turtle is one of the most unnerving things you'll probably ever see in a motion picture. And I don't want to get too political about that, but if you're going to complain about Cannibal Holocaust being cruel to animals and being inhumane, you better be a vegetarian. Because if you're eating a hamburger or chicken nuggets and criticizing the makers of this film, you're a hypocrite. But yeah, going back to the movie, I can't remember the director's name or any of the actors, but we all know its vaunted historical legacy. And I think that in accompanying the fact that it's a really great degenerate cinema film, I think it's a legitimately great film. A lot of philosophical and especially socio-political importance. I mean, you have to remember, this is a movie that came out just about 5 years after Vietnam ended, and I think what you're looking at is clearly a parallel for U.S. intervention in Asia during the 1970s and late 1960s. It's also a film about, I guess, in some ways, globalization and capitalism and consumption and the imperialism of the West. We go over there to these native lands and force capitalism down their throat and force modes of industry and consumption, and what do you know? They take us back. So I think this movie is really a fantastic, aggressive, borderline Marxist in some ways parable for how the first world treats the third world. And I think it's really an interesting film from a lot of different categories. And there's that great line at the end where the guy walks out of the office and says, "I don't know who the cannibals are." And the last scene you see in the entire film is a shot of the World Trade Center, which is definitely takes on a different meaning, I guess, in the post 9/11 world. But I think that's really, really telling about the true intent and merits of the motion picture as a whole. As far as the disturbing elements of the film, yeah, it still got to me. The atmosphere of this film is just brutal. It is relentless from start to finish. Here I am in the year 2013 watching this movie, and I am just kind of like breathing heavy. I mean, this stuff actually kind of got to me. So I can only imagine how it must have caused people to just, freak the heck out way back in 1980. Going back to the animal stuff, watching snakes get cut up and, I don't know, what else do they do? I think there's some things get blow darted at one point. You got the turtle, you got some other stuff going on. That kind of freaked me out, but I think it was more or less because just the way it was filmed, like the music in the background, and you had that one chick puking everywhere, and I mean, when you had like the actors, you could tell they were really unnerved by what was going on. And to me, that was really brilliant, and yeah, don't tell Pete I said that, but it just really is effective at making you feel really icky and awful. Ooh, and another thing I like of this film, it was really the pioneer of the found footage subgenre, and now it's played out and it's been done a million billion times before, but the film does a really fantastic job of blurring the real with the fantastical. Like there's that one part where they're showing footage of people being executed in Africa, and it's clearly real footage of people getting executed, but you have the one guy say, yeah, the film crew made it up. Well, actually, it's real, but in the diegetic plotline of the film, it's fabricated. Meanwhile, all the violence we're seeing on screen, which is supposed to be real, is fabricated. So you have this really great, Habermas, Baudrillard take on what is real and what is fabricated and what has meaning, and whether we can believe the aesthetic experiences that we go through. And it's really a really fascinating film when you look at it just from that sort of perspective about what is true, about media depictions and the fantastical and the real, and finding the essence in this world of a million billion video screens and other electronic apparatuses. So it's definitely a great film from a lot of different angles. It's very interesting. The acting, I admit, is cheesy, but it is effective. The special effects are absolutely mind-blowingly great considering the time frame. And yeah, if you want to get freaked out, if you want to be disturbed, if you want to say, hey, I don't know what's going on, you got that too. So Cannibal Holocaust, I think it still holds up. It is an utterly remarkable film, and if you haven't seen it, give it a shot.